My name's Linton, I live in Hillwood, but I regard myself as a Tasmanian and an Australian. Unfortunately, we represent concerns right across Tasmania and Australia. It's not a local issue. I'd love to suggest that I'm an expert in any of the particular areas related to the mill, but I'm not. What I've done is actually found independent information. Didn't find it on the government's pulp mill task force website. I didn't find it on the Gunns website. I actually had to go to a community-based organisation, self-funded, like TAP. Congratulations to TAP. And the often maligned Wilderness Society. Congratulations to them. So the points I'm going to make is taken from the independent advice that I've got off those websites and from The Age and from reading the papers. And if you want any of those bits of information, go to those websites and find it for yourself like I did. Tasmania does not need this pulp mill at Longreach. The mill has been cleverly but misleadingly portrayed to represent a clean, green economic future for the state. It is not. Please don't believe the propaganda that's been deliberately circulated by the proponents of the mill or the inaccurate information suggesting a mill that can proceed with conditions that will make its impacts manageable. My family and I, according to recent polls, like many other Tasmanians, urge you to vote with your feet. Tell politicians that you don't want this mill. It isn't just because we live within 10 kilometres of the mill and we fear for our future. It's because of the information from many independent people that substantiate the facts that there are concerns related to this mill. This is not a debate being led by the Greens or some anti-development lobby. There is widespread community, industry and political protest over the mill and the government's handling of the entire development. This includes outspoken members of the RPDC, the medical profession, the Australian Medical Association, business leaders in this valley, agriculturalists, university professors, members of the fishing industry, independent scientists and free-thinking members of state and federal parliaments. Don't believe the inadequate and flawed Swaco PIC report and the Gunns and government misinformation. There's sufficient independent information to raise serious concerns about the mill, the process used to fast-track the mill, and the potentially damaging impacts on our magnificent island state. The costs of the mill are unacceptable. It's not appropriate to overstate the economic benefits without counting the true costs to the community, the environment, and other industries. Careful consideration of these impacts suggests the mill may not be the economic saviour that it's touted to be. The economic costs may easily outweigh any direct financial benefits to the Tasmanian economy from this mill. Impacts to the fishing industry, Bass Strait, impacts on agriculture, viticulture, tourism, property prices. There's an economic cost to the loss of recreation opportunities, the anticipated additional road deaths put in the latest report, environmental impacts, loss of fresh water to the mill when Tasmania can ill afford to squander this precious resource. Our clean and green image will be tarnished forever, and that is not worth the risk. Not quite the standing ovation Justin got, but anyway, keep going.
You're not finished yet.
There's the punchline, wait for it. There are additional losses in the significant government handouts already provided to Gunns. Tax incentives, government subsidisation would be an ongoing necessity to keep the mill open as the mill competes with cheaper running mills in developing countries. This locks Tasmanian forestry into continued poor economic performance with an over-dependence on the monopoly wood buyer Gunns.
Shame.
Unlike the deliberately misleading suggestion that effluent into Bass Strait would be simply salty water, there exists factual information about the pollution that the mill will produce. The toxic cocktail of pollutants to be pumped into Bass Strait is much worse than salty water. The long-term impacts of organochlorines such as dioxins and furans has caused severe restrictions worldwide. These are amongst the most harmful chemicals known to humans. Bioaccumulation of these persistent organic pollutants in the marine environment is unacceptable at any level, let alone with the knowledge of poor flushing characteristics of bass strait and the impacts that this would have on marine life and subsequently the fishing industry. Little has been said of the buoyant mill effluent that is not likely to disperse easily, as suggested by Gunns. It'll just disappear. This brown-stained, low-density contaminant that will cause detrimental impacts to marine life, or the potentially toxic river sediments that should not be disturbed by the dredging required for the wharf to be built. This isn't just the political fast-track process that smells. There should be no doubt that craft pulp mills smell. You don't have to be an expert to know it, just as you don't have to go visit Antarctica to know it's cold. While taxpayer-funded pro-mill world tours seem to be a popular pastime, fortunately MLC Ruth Forrest has reported the truth about the health impacts of sulphurous fugitive emissions. Not only will fugitive emissions impact on surrounding communities, they will severely impact upon our children, our frail and aged, and our medically ill. In a highly populated area such as the Tamar, this is unacceptable. Not quite Justin's, but that's okay. The AMA has warned of the toxic pollutants to be emitted into the Tamar Valley airshed. Particulate emissions such as PM10s, PM2.5s are harmful to humans, let alone the Class 1 pollutants that will be released such as sulphur dioxide, oxides of nitrogen, inorganic chlorinated and reduced sulphur compounds. With known problems of air quality and poor dispersal within the Tamar Valley, any form of additional air pollution is unacceptable. For those of you who don't already oppose the mill, I suggest you read the independent information, make up your own minds, but don't let these negative impacts occur. Thanks.